First of all, I think it's a bit misleading to call them soft skills. I know it's something that we use in our common parlance, and I continue to use it because for those of us who try to practice those skills, we know how hard they are. So it's a bit deceiving to call them soft skills. But I believe the reason why they're called soft skills is because they invite us to touch upon us the more delicate and sensitive parts of us as human beings, and that those are emotions and feelings that we sometimes don't like to address. And it is a very crucial part of being a mediator and a conflict resolution professional. I mean, there are various soft skills, but let's say let's just take out the equation of being a mediator for a second, and just think about just us as just individuals in our professional lives. Things like reframing, summarizing, asking open-ended questions to people, listening without judging the other person who's speaking. These are things that are actually expected out of us as human beings, but we're so busy in our worlds that we are not being able to practice this. We know it's the right thing to do. We know it's the right thing to practice when we are engaging with somebody else. When somebody else comes to us with their problems and they're telling us about their problems, how many of us actually listen without judging them or diagnosing their problem? Most of us listen to respond. Most of us listen to give some feedback or to give some advice or to give a solution or to give them our gyan about what we think is the best thing going forward. So very few of us actually listen to empathize and understand. And that's where a trained mediator makes a difference, right? And I usually like, Johnson, are you always listening to people like outside your role as a mediator? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, we are human beings. In a real life scenario, I'm sometimes selectively listening. Sometimes there's so much happening around me that I can't be listening to you attentively. But when I put on the mediator's hat and I'm sitting in a room with two parties who are in a dispute, who have engaged me and hired me to be that mediator, to help them talk and fix things for themselves, that's when I actually have to listen. So that's when I put on the mediator's hat. I try and listen even outside the mediation table in the mediation group, but at least for that 1 hour, 1.5 hours that I'm hired for, that's a skill I bring to the table, to listen, to empathize, to summarize what's happening. If two parties cannot be framing sentences in a constructive, civil manner for a dialogue, I help them construct those sentences better, help them. They know what they want. Remember, as mediators, we are not there to tell them what they want. So they know very well what they want. Our role as a mediator is to help them converse properly. And those are the soft skills. So firstly, you have to train yourself to be able to exercise those soft skills yourself. And because then you will need to start coaching parties in the room itself to say, hey, because as a mediator, what my practice is, before I bring parties to a joint session, I always ask the parties, what do you think might be your first few lines you would be saying to that person? It's almost like a bit of a rehearsal. And because I need to know what they're going to say. You can't come into the room and just go full guns blazing and bash out at the other side. That mediation is ruined. So I work with them and I coach them, and they'll say, this is what I want to say. And I'll be like, do you think you might want to frame that bit slightly differently? Because how do you think they might respond to that? And so there's a bit of that goes on. So it's a bit of soft skills coaching, as you want to call it, that takes place for a mediator. And so first of all, you have to learn the skill yourself and practice it. And there are different places where you can learn those skills. There are a lot of organizations that do trainings in soft skills, in negotiation and mediation. PACT has done that for the last 7-8 years, but there are many others who do that in India as well. And many others who will continue to do that. But it's about also trying to practice that as much as possible in your daily life outside the professional space, because if you do it outside a professional space, it'll start to come naturally to you in the professional space as a mediator. But yeah, that's my very babbling answer to your question.